Not content with destroying to a large degree many of our inner cities, not content with creating plantation-style urban dependency, not just in the ghetto, but also in the barrio, and then in a rural equivalent on the American Indian reservations. Not content with doing all that damage, the left now wants to destroy the suburbs. And they want to destroy the suburbs. They want to convert the suburbs, if you will, into the kind of urban plantations that they've created in the inner cities and on the Indian reservations. Why? Because it pays political dividends. It brings political benefits to the Democratic Party. The Biden administration has issued new rules, specifically 200 pages of new rules. And the rules require, quote, equity plans in hundreds and hundreds of suburbs around the country. Now, equity is the new mantra of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's the new mantra of critical race theory. It's that we don't want equality, and we don't even want equal treatment under the law. We want equity, and equity here is defined as equal outcomes. What the Biden administration is doing is relying here on the Fair Housing Act. Let's remember we had the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Law of 1968. Now, the Fair Housing Law is pretty innocuous. It says no discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of dwellings. So the basic idea is that if you want to buy a house or rent a house, it's based upon the fact that you have enough money to do it. And if you have enough money and can qualify for the mortgage, and you're willing to pay, then it doesn't matter whether you're, a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or brown. So this all makes sense, but there's one line in the housing law that talks about making affirmatively furthering fair housing. And this, I think, when passed, meant nothing more than taking steps to make sure that these rules were in fact in place, to take affirming action. You see here the roots of the phrase affirmative action. But the Biden administration goes, well, let's just jump on that one and act as if the allusion to affirmative action is an allusion to equality of outcomes. And so they have now ordered all these cities, hey, listen, if you want to get money from the federal government, if you want to get money from HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department, these 1,200 cities and counties getting HUD funding have to develop these equity plans. Now, the equity plans are larger and more burdensome for larger areas than they are for smaller areas. And they do give some local flexibility. But nevertheless, it is that you have to develop these plans and show them to us, or else. Or else what? Well, in the extreme, you lose your government funding. So this is Housing Secretary Marcia Fudge. And she goes, she says, if they are not in compliance, we have the tools to make sure that they either use them properly or they're going to have to answer to what we want to do going forward. So the federal government here using its muscle. What do they want? They want the suburbs to agree to build all this low-income housing. This would then transfer a lot of low-income people from the cities to the suburbs, redraw school districts. This is a revival of the old busing idea, and promote, quote, racial and socioeconomic integration, but all as defined by the Biden HUD bureaucracy. If you oppose this, if you say, I don't like it, if you say, listen, we like diversity, but we want that diversity to develop organically. We notice that there are a lot of people, blacks, Asian Americans, moving to the suburbs. We're okay with that, but we want to have a colorblind principle in the suburbs. This is what the Biden people are attacking. No, they don't want a colorblind approach. They want a race-conscious approach, and they want a plan or blueprint in place for producing this forced, if you will, integration. And if you resist it, they're going to accuse you of, well, you're trying to keep the suburbs white, aren't you? You're in defense of white suburbs. So now the whole concept of white suburbs is a big lie, because we notice that whenever blacks become more prosperous, whenever you see a black middle class, look at, for example, suburbs around Baltimore, suburbs around Atlanta, you'll see black suburbs, heavily black suburbs, and lots of black people have deliberately and consciously moved out of the inner city. In fact, this is sometimes by scholars called black flight. And black flight, again, is motivated not by racism. It's motivated by resistance to crime, resistance to horrible public schools, resistance to the bad quality of life that Democrats have created in these inner cities. And people go, I don't like it. I'd like to move my family out. I'd like to send my kid to a better school. I want to be able to walk safely on the street. I don't want to constantly have to worry about my home being burglarized. So the point here is that this is not an argument about having ethnic diversity in the suburbs. Many of our suburbs are ethnically diverse. Debbie and I live in a suburb of Texas. It's ethnically diverse. And the greater areas of Texas, Dallas, Houston, are very diverse. Diverse racially, diverse religiously. You'll see they're dotted, for example, with mosques and churches and synagogues. So this is not an argument about diversity. It's an argument about the kind of diversity that the left pushes for. And again, they're pushing it for by twisting up your arm behind your back and saying, either you do it or we're going to make you do it.